call this meeting back to order. Mr. Rowan, is there anything to report from executive session?
No, ma'am.
With that, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up tonight, we have a presentation for the Northwest Local School District. The Northwest Local School District Bond Operating Levy Endorsement. Whereas the Northwest Local School District Board of Education has approved a resolution to seek voter approval for a combined bond/operating levy on November the 3rd, 2015. And whereas the Northwest Local School District intends to issue bonds in the amount of $76 million for a period of time not to exceed 35 years for the purpose of new construction and renovation. And whereas the Northwest Local School District plans to construct 3 new elementary schools in the amount of $64 million, which would replace 5 existing buildings. And whereas the Northwest Local School District plans to address the most urgent needs in the remaining buildings through renovations amounting to $21 million. And whereas the Northwest Local School District has identified operating needs amounting to 1.00 mils. And whereas the Northwest Local School District proposes to replace an existing operating levy amounting to 4.52 mils with a combination levy amounting to 3.82 mils, allowing for an overall millage reduction of 0.7 mils. And whereas the Colerain Township Board of Trustees recognizes that strong schools play a vital role in the life of our community and finds that this proposed issue supports our vision of delivering excellence to a best-in-class community, now therefore be it resolved that the Colerain Township Board of Trustees hereby endorses the proposed bond operating levy for November 3rd, 2015 as proposed by the Northwest Local School District.
Ms. Reinhardt, members of the board, I do believe there are representatives here from the school district that would like a few minutes to address you.
I'll make a motion to approve the endorsement.
Second.
Aye.
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 My name is Todd Bowling, Superintendent of Northwest Local Schools. I appreciate the endorsement of the levy and wanted to ask if there was any questions I could respond to or anything I could address.
Yeah, and I think that my neighbors and the residents are interested in how it's a tax reduction. Maybe you can give us some highlights on
Sure.
the voting.
We've made a lot of cuts that have been pretty severe since 2005. And last May,
The mic at the base. The mic's not.
we've made a lot of cuts since 2005 in terms of staff and getting where we need to be. So last May, we were able to put a levy in front that was for $85 million. So we reduced it this time to $75 million because the district is going to spend $10 million out of the general fund because of monies that we have saved. We also listened to the public at board meetings. This was a request and something they wanted also. What it does say for a $100,000 homeowner is $4 per year. For $150,000, $7 per year on their school levies. So it will be a decrease in taxes, but we hope the increase in property value and the increase that it will help through academics and just getting people to move back in our community, because our vision is just like yours. We want our community to grow. We want to have a great community that offers parochial choices and public choices and get people to come back to Colerain Township in our community.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Best wishes. I think it's important to note we talk about all these shared services and trying to combine with other communities. Oftentimes we ignore our schools, our public school system. It's a good school system. It's one that I think has tremendous potential if the residents will be supportive. So I wish you all the best of luck.
We don't have anything on the schedule for public hearing tonight, correct? Okay. Then we move on to citizen address. Just a reminder that you have 5 minutes to speak. And first up, we have Mr. Fiedleday.
I'm here tonight with regard to the
resolution for the shooting ranges. I have some just questions, really, and that's that, I guess. It says the Township Board of Trustees has determined that excessively loud noise from shooting ranges in the areas within Colerain Township constitutes a nuisance and detrimental to the public health, safety, and quality of life. So you have somebody has determined that and did all the things they're supposed to do to say, hey, we got this issue. That's a question. And then it says, where is the condition and noise level that shooting ranges in the incorporated areas of the township are negatively impacting adjacent properties? And you guys have all went out there and checked some ranges and determined that that's what's going on. You're not just making up stuff, right? And then it says, then you go on to say in the town, the sound levels produced by shooting ranges in the township in order to prevent hearing damage and eliminate nuisance and noise complaints. Thereabouts, you guys have documented all that. So you make these statements, I'm assuming you've documented it. Is that correct? Anybody wants to answer that? The board specifically finds and hereby determines noise and sound levels from shooting ranges inside the township are excessive and are dangerous to adjacent properties and the health and safety of residents. Then it goes on to say who's going to end up placing sound measuring receiver at the boundaries of the range property. Sound level shall not exceed so and so, which you guys know all that. But who's going to do that? That's that issue. Is it that you guys are going to do that? We didn't do that in the original sound or noise resolution because we didn't want to get into that monitoring and metering because that cost is excessive. So we didn't do that. So is that something you guys are going to do, or is the property owner that's being charged going to do that, or who's going to do that and create that, or are we just going to create more government cost within our own township? And then it says you also the board and any of its committees that resulted in such formal action were taken in meetings. So did we have other people looking into this for you, or whatever? Those are kind of my questions, and then it talks about shooting ranges. And, you know, the Ohio law is pretty, I guess what I'm going to say to you is what determines a shooting range is, I'm a gun owner, and I have a target in my backyard. Does that constitute a shooting range where I can't shoot? If you're trying to suppress our Second Amendment right, I just want to know that because we'll take it another way. But I think you need to describe and be real clear what constitutes a shooting range, because the Ohio law is kind of ambiguous. But if somebody has one in their backyard, a target, does that constitute a shooting range? You need to answer these questions, and I really would.
Well,
What is it?
Your time runs, so I'm writing your questions down, and we'll answer when you're done asking, because I don't want to eat up your time answering your questions. I'm writing them down.
And that's fair. I don't know why. Okay, but anyway, those are things I'd like to know is how we're going to handle that. And I really, since this doesn't seem like it was vetted real good, I would really say that you really ought to postpone this for a while to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row, because on the surface it really doesn't appear like you got them. Thank you very much. So are you going to answer my questions now?
I will try to give a broad, because I know Dan's going to speak on this in depth a little more later, but my understanding of this is that it would not apply to specific individuals.
I can hardly hear you.
It would not apply to individuals, so you in your backyard would not fall under this definition of a shooting range, if I am understanding our definition correct, Mr. Barbier. Okay. So it
doesn't say that, so you need to be real clear.
Okay. Also, the whole point of this is to give the officers a definition of what is and is not an acceptable amount of noise, which is taken directly from the ODNR regulations. And what we already have the machine, we use it to determine the decibel meter. We already have it. We do it with noise violations as far as loud music, loud cars, motorcycles, that kind of thing. So we already have the device.
We never had that before, so that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so we already have this device, and when Dan and I spoke about this, it's the equivalent of when somebody's pulled over for dark window tint on their vehicle, the officer can't just say, in my opinion, it's dark window tint. They actually have a specific strip where they go down and measure it by, the tintedness. This is the same thing. This isn't based upon an officer saying this is too loud. It's an actual, this is the level that is acceptable and this is the level that is not, and it either falls under it or above it, and there's no question. It's not up to the officer. It's what the meter says. So that, and it would be the police officers that would be responding as far as enforcing it to check the levels of the noise and how far away it is from residences.
So he would definitely have to be on somebody else's property.
Yeah, because I think it's, 80 feet?
Specifically to this section of the wall, it's at the property of the range. So
Yeah.
If this is the range on the state.
Well, you call it a range, and I call it somebody's backyard target. So which one is it?
Property line is,
So in other words, you would not come on somebody else's property.
I have no intention to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good luck. Thank you.
I think that was everything. But Dan is going to speak more in depth to this in a little
Well,
while.
it sounds to me like you may have somebody in mind because you've already determined they're guilty, as it appears as I read this.
We haven't voted on anything.
Well, that's what it appears.
We didn't vote on anything yet.
Excuse me?
We have not voted on that. You're acting
I
like
know
it's
that. That's why
law.
we're bringing it up, but that's why it seems like it's a little in a hurry.
Conclude that we've voted on it.
Excuse me?
You've concluded that we voted on it.
I didn't say that. You've got it all written up. If
You decided
you're not
this. You
intended
decided
to doing
that.
it,
You
why would
decided
you have it
this.
all written up? Because you didn't ask us for opinion, that's for sure. Thank you.
I think this is your opinion right now, but okay. Next is, let's keep it rolling. I've got Jeff, is it Endeman or Erdman? Okay, I couldn't tell if it was an R or an N.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees for letting me speak tonight. My name's Jeff Herdman. I'm president of the Southern Ohio Dog and Game Protective Association. We're a conservation association, and our farm is located on approximately 215 acres in western Colerain Township. We maintain a membership of 1,000 members with many on the waiting list. The club was incorporated in 1931. We purchased the original portion of the farm in 1941. Parcels have been added over the years. The association has unselfishly donated time, resources, and the use of the farm for the public good, for community meetings, township, fire department training, also to the Boy Scouts of America, the Girl Scouts of America, and youth and church groups. I just wanted to give you a little background on Dog and Game. I'm here to find out some information and answers on the amendment to Resolution 903 for the controlled noise at shooting ranges. Currently, we have a 50-yard target range that allows rimfire rifles, muzzleloaders, straight-wall pistol cartridges shot out of handguns, and shotgun shooting slugs. We also have a trap range and a skeet range. Question 1, in the way I read the resolution, it's reading that the owners be responsible for installing sound measuring receivers, is the way it's written, at the boundaries of the range property. We own approximately 215 acres. How many sensors would we need to go around 215 acres? That's one of my first questions. Myself, I think the adjoining property owners, unless the township's going to supply them, that complain should supply them. Our club has been there before any of the neighbors are ever there. Second question, how loud is actual 85 decibels or 90 decibels as it's written? A garbage disposal is 80 decibels. A power mower is 96 decibels. Can I complain about my neighbor cutting his yard? A motorcycle at 25 feet is 90 decibels. A chainsaw running is 120 decibels. We're going to find them. We're going to regulate them. Another one of my questions here is I'm kind of concerned on the notice that was given out on this resolution. I myself, as president of the association, found out yesterday. From what I understand, it was just put on the agenda recently, very recently. I ask that your vote on this be read the minimum of 2 times instead of just read tonight and voted on the way it's written in the resolution. Also, we work very closely with the Division of Wildlife. As a matter of fact, we held the Tri-State Game Warden annual meeting recently, just 3 weeks ago. This is Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky game wardens. They go over law enforcement things and so on. They also used our range for over 1 hour. Todd Haynes, the District 5 manager with the Division of Wildlife, we talked to him today. He can have a professional from the division here before the trustees next month. It was too short of a notice to get him here tonight. That's it concerning the Southern Ohio Dog and Game. I have a couple questions on my own as an individual. Mr. Fiedley, I guess he hit that on that. What defines a target range? If I set up a target on my 5, 10, or 15 acres and shoot at it a couple times, is that considered a target range? And also, I want to know, are the trustees trying to stop us from shooting our firearms in the township? Shooting is a sport. It's also an Olympic sport. We train young folk in hunter safety, how to shoot safely. We've never had an incident at our ranges. We're looked upon very well, the club in Colerain Township. I think we've been good stewards of the township. There are also reasons why people move to the unincorporated areas of Ohio. And that's one of them. I'd like to thank you for your time. And that's really all I had tonight. I wanted to be cordial on this.
Mr. Erdman, let me see here. The first part about who would need to measure the noise, obviously if there's a complaint filed, it would be the police department coming out to see if they're in violation or not. I'm not...
Ma'am, it's reading here.
I know, I was trying to read while you were talking and listen at the same time.
Okay, it says, I could read that to you. It says, orders the owners of said shooting ranges operating within Colerain Township to comply with the rules propagated by the Division of Wildlife and set forth. These rules shall amend Resolution 903 to include the following noise and sound level regulations for shooting ranges. Placing the sound measuring receiver at the boundaries of the range property. The way I'm reading that, that's we would be responsible for those receivers. If it's different, I'd like to see it written that way.
Okay,
I think this was all shoved through too quick. I think it needs a little more thought.
Well, and on it, and actually, we were just, I'll just say it now, we were discussing this tonight about how that does seem to be one of the chief complaints we get from people is things pop up on Monday, and they've had no time to vet it. So other than personnel actions, which don't require public input, hiring, firing, I think we are going to implement a process whereby we have a reading, not action, but information. So have a reading of something at one meeting that gives people time to call us for the next month or whatever.
'Cause I'd like to get some of my members here and get our attorneys involved.
We've thought about that, and we decided that seems like a better practice because we have a lot of people, and not just about this, zoning issues, other issues that have come up before, that it feels like it not necessarily being rushed, but it just kind of catches people off guard, so to speak. So we definitely are going to address that. As far as the decibel level, I think the point is not where it's happening, is you're measuring it at the boundaries of the property. So if you're shooting a gun right next to me...
If my neighbor's using a chainsaw 50 yards from my home
right.
at 120 decibels, it's over 85 or 90 at my home.
Right, but...
I guarantee that.
I have a feeling the dog and game shooting range probably isn't right on the edges of the property.
Our skeet range is not too far from the edge. It's the closest one.
And I was speaking with some of your members, and obviously another part of continuing this out a month was one of our officers would be more than happy to come out and bring the meter out and check it to see exactly where you guys do.
Because it also depends what caliber handgun they're shooting at the time.
Yeah. So, and I know Mr. Mason indicated you guys obviously are in very close connection with the ODNR.
Yes.
And that's where we got a lot of this stuff from. So if you're working with them, you should still fall within the regulations.
Yes,
but,
we're also senior members in the NRA.
So I think that is everything for now. I think? Okay.
All right.
And of course, we're not trying to limit individual gun owners' rights to have a firearm or shoot them on their property or hunt or anything of that.
Okay, would that be addressed on, well, I guess it was, where it won't be. If I own my 15 acres, I could shoot in my backyard.
Well, and I do not have
As long as I have a
definition-
safe backstop and everything follow NRA guidelines.
I do not have the definition of a shooting range in front of us tonight. We'll review that in the next month as well. And if that needs to be changed some, then we can make that change as well, or define it further. We can also do that.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. I have one more, Bruce Periano. Is that? Pereano. Okay.
Yeah, I've come here for the same reason, and I had some of the same concerns the last two gentlemen had. Was able to talk at length today with Dan about the issues, what precipitated the issues, what it's going to do, what it's not going to do, and so forth. It was a very productive conversation, and it alleviated most of my issues. The recommendations I have, and I think you're picking them up yourself, is the fact that things like this, issues like this, need to be vetted far better. They need to come out as informational, that we're planning on doing such and such of a resolution, what it will do, what it won't do, and maybe, and besides having the written text, which may need some wordsmithing, as it turns out, maybe a white paper, 1 or 2 pages of what this resolution is intended to do and what is it intended not to do. I think that would alleviate a lot of people's concerns that have arisen. So I thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mason?
I'm Danny Mason. I'm vice president of the Dalton game. Jeff is our president. A couple things. I spent most of the afternoon on the phone with ODNR today. One thing that needs to be looked at is these regulations were for their own public ranges that are on their property. Some of these properties are thousands of acres, so it wouldn't be too hard to keep it down to 80 decibels at their property line or adjoining. A lot of it's leased land for tree harvesting or whatever in Jackson Township. So their 80 decibel thing is very obtainable by them or whatever. I know what the problems are. I don't think we've had a problem with shooting ranges, official ranges. I've been down there since '74. I know of no complaints, and the range has been there 60 or 70 years, something like. So there's no complaints. One of the real problems is people shooting in confined areas, not maybe 10 or 15 acres, but on a half acre or 1 acre lot. That is one of the problems, and I'm on that side of those things. But I wish you'd put off the vote so we can get some more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Next, I have Jane Coleman. Mrs. Coleman?
Yes, I'm Jane Coleman, totally different subject. I was hoping we could get an update on the condemned house on Pool Road because we noticed yesterday the excavator and the equipment to take it down left and the house is still there.
Actually, we just talked about this. You want to go for it, Frank?
No, that's the only
So you're finished? Yes, good question. It is in Judge Beth Meyer's courtroom, and I just found out that they moved it back to November 2nd, the final hearing for this injunction. I'm not sure if I'm using the correct legal term. We have asked to move that up. We're now going to be faced with an additional mobilization fee for that piece of equipment. We're probably going to have to pump some more waste out of the basement as well. And, I am, how do I say this, equally frustrated with the process, but hopefully we can get this down in the next 3 or 4 weeks. We're just waiting on the judge to allow that to happen. So,
Thank you. We just thought we'd ask when we saw it leave. Yes.
I've talked to several of the neighbors. They're frustrated as well. I feel sorry for the schools. They have the football games, and they're riding by this in the back entrance by the field. I think it's a nuisance, and we rightfully declared it as such, and hopefully we'll get it down in the next 3 or 4 weeks. Good question. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your time.
The board was pretty generous with the homeowners, I think, and did a lot to try to accommodate them, to try to save their house, and they sued us. I mean, that's a fact, so we're waiting for the judge.
Mr. McVeigh?
Rich McVeigh, Colerain Township. Just to piggyback on the shooting range, I'd like to see you table it and do some more study. I think that's pretty obvious. Two things I would mention. I hear people talking about hours of shooting as an issue. Not so much, I'm hearing it before 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'd rather have them start shooting at 9 or something like that, whether they're on their own ranges or not. So I'd ask that you think about that. Second thing I would say is that if you get into looking at what it takes to measure this sound and meet the standards, it's very, very complex and probably open to some litigation at some point in time. Second point, about 2 months ago, I was here and I asked President Reinhardt if we had a strategy for road improvement, and she answered yes. And Frank said, yes, we had one, and we mailed it out to you. And I said, Frank, I didn't recall getting anything in the mail. I sent an open records request in for the road strategy and didn't get anything back for 6 weeks, and I know that you're busy. But when I did get an answer back from Frank, it really said we don't have a written road strategy. He said, Mr. McVeigh, you talked with Tim Lang for about 20 minutes, and he talked with you about some issues, and he responded to a question that you asked about what it was costing to pave some roads, and beyond that, we don't have any documentation for a road strategy. I think that that's very problematic, and I don't know why you guys think that you have a road strategy when you don't. And you make statements that we need to go for a levy in the spring, and you really don't have in hand thoughts or a model around how you'll get the road work done. Right now, it costs us anywhere between $500,000 and $1.3 million a mile to fix roads in this township. That's what you're spending. And you have, based on your study, 50-some miles of road out of the 100 and some that we have that need to be improved. So there is some talk that maybe, we'll get this levy passed, and I'm not sure that it will, but it might produce another $1.5 million a year. That's not going to go very far towards fixing a problem that your road and development people, road services people have defined. So I think basically we don't have a strategy. There's no one that can put together a plan that says, if in fact we had this amount of money, this is how we would get these roads fixed and which roads would be fixed. Part of my conversation with Mr. Lang was, Tim, there's a lot of roads in the township that are in equally as bad shape as the ones you're repaving. How did you decide to pave these particular roads? And Tim, it was a gracious conversation. He said, listen, we know what roads are in need of repair and which are the high traffic roads. And based on that, we decide what we're going to repave. I said, Tim, did you do any traffic counts on these roads? And he said, no, we don't have any traffic counts. I said, that's kind of interesting. Okay. Now, one of the roads we're paving over here in the subdivision, I forget, let me get the name here, is Vernier Drive. Now, I know the people on Vernier Drive want to have a good road. I don't hold anything against the people on Vernier Drive, but it's way back here in the traffic volume, and that's very low. So I have real questions about how are you guys going to figure out what you're going to do. Our costs, as I mentioned, are running between $500,000 and $1.3 million a mile. That's your history. You go to Butler County, and they're paving roads for $50,000 to $130,000 a mile. There's something wrong about what we're doing. And you guys need to find out before you go and ask to put something on the ballot. You need to go talk to people who understand paving. It's pretty obvious, okay, that we don't. When I brought up a question about chip and seal as a way cost-effective to pave road, Frank told me, well, 30 years ago we had a problem. And based on that, we're never going to do it again. A lot of things have changed in 30 years. We can't have people in leadership positions making assumptions about data that's 30 years old and spending taxpayer dollars. You don't have a strategy. Mr. Dieters doesn't like me here to say that. I've said this for the last 5 months. Nothing has changed. You didn't have a strategy then. You don't have a strategy now. It's insane. Thank you.
Well, I'll respond to that by saying you just stood here and said part of our strategy because you just said you talked to Mr. Lang, and I believe it was for an hour, not 20 minutes.
23 minutes.
And you also spoke to Mr. Birkenhauer for quite an extended amount of time, and you just sat here and said Mr. Lang told you they have a process by which they determine how to make repairs and which roads need repaired and the priority with which to make them. So that is a strategy. It might not be one you like. It is a reactive strategy, unfortunately, because we don't have the funding to be proactive with a strategy. And until we get the necessary funding, we cannot come up with a proactive approach because we don't have the funding. So I admit it's a reactive approach to it, but right now that's all we can afford to do and all we can afford to implement. As far as Butler County, maybe you should talk to someone who knows, because I'm pretty sure the product they're using up there is inferior to anything we've ever used here, and probably just going to have to replace it again as soon as we put it down. So what is the point of using an inferior product and saving a few pennies when you're just going to have to replace it again? So we do have a strategy in place. Whether you want to acknowledge that that's a strategy or not is a difference of opinion, but we do have one, and that's where we're at with it.
I'd like to say that I was quoting a trustee. I did not state that, so please don't put words in my mouth. I said a trustee that was here years ago had said that. I didn't say that we would never use that. I said a trustee was having an opinion about chip and tar in the past. So don't misquote me, and I don't appreciate that because I didn't say it. Secondly, what you're comparing is Butler County rural roads that don't have curb and gutter. They just have a drainage ditch next to them. Obviously, if you're not putting concrete curb and gutter down, it's going to be significantly less expensive. We just did Yellowstone Drive, and the most expensive part of that, now a developer is going to redevelop it, but the curbs are the most expensive of your street. So you're doing apples to orange comparisons. Your benchmarking is flawed. And I think that Tim has given you the strategy. He's talked to you countless hours over the phone. He's given you documents. I said, I don't know what else to give you at this point. Our staff has just given you everything they have in their possession. We'll have to agree to disagree that that is a strategy. You're saying it's not a strategy. I disagree. That's all I have.
I have Mr. Acton.
Good evening, and thank you for taking notes. That eliminates part of my presentation, which was initially it was due to the policy that the administrator had asked at the September 8th meeting, and the trustees had agreed upon that a time limit would be placed upon residents as they speak. So I'm asking the people here in front of me and on each side not to answer or ask me any questions until I'm completed. Thank you again for taking the notes there, Ms. Reinhardt. I'm here tonight to speak about the police department. And Chief, it's nothing against your department. It's just information that I've asked and asked and asked about and have never got back. Using Raids Online website, a site that is used by many police departments, the newspaper, in many counties throughout the state of Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, California, New York, you name it, every place else. An example of what has been on Raids Online, and these results supposedly are from the Colerain Police Department. Thefts. In August, we had 10. September, we had 20. Through October the 8th, we've had 21. Burglaries, we've had 1 in August, 1 in September, and 5 through October the 8th. Breaking and entering, August 0, 1 in September, 0 in October. Robberies, 1 in August, 1 in September, 0 to date in October. Drug offenses, August 0, September 0, October 0. I've been told that none have been filed because there's been no arrest. And I'm sure Dan will speak upon this with what he's doing with the narcotics things. But my question, and many of the residents are asking me, and also they should be asking the police department, what other websites do you use? An example, the Northwest Press gets information, what I'm told, from Mr. Maloney and from Ms. Key, from the raids online. I've asked Mr. Maloney this past week, I spoke to him, it was Friday of last week, to give me the information where he gets this information that they put in the paper. And Chief, to your defense, I don't know if you read the last Northwest Press, but we live in the lousiest township in the city. All they reported was June of this year. District 5, Green Township, they reported September. So I'd get on Northwest Press about that. They say, and this is from their editor, that they get the information from your department. I don't believe that. I think they were too lazy to go out and ask, to be honest with you. This was, Jenny, this was volume 78, number 37 for your information. Many of the residents, as myself, attend a lot of these meetings and we listen to them on different medias. The biggest thing we ask is, let us know what's going on. And I think, Ms. Reinhardt, you put a foot forward tonight in a good position to say, we're going to let you know a month in advance before we decide on a lot of things. I appreciate that. And if there's any questions, please ask me now.
So the main question I heard, Mr. Acton, was you wanted to know what websites the police department reports on?
Raids online.
I thought you asked them if they used any others. Was that, maybe I misunderstood.
I'm not sure how you're accessing that. I do it daily, and those figures you have are incorrect. So I'd be happy to sit down with you and show you how I access that. But it's updated every single night about 9:30 p.m. All the reports for that day are updated and uploaded.
As far as a month.
Excuse me. As far as the Northwest Press, we send a weekly email every Monday morning to the Northwest Press with every single crime report for that prior week and the prior arrest. That they do get that. It is sent by us every week. So that is true. That does occur. And you said I didn't provide you information. Hold on a second, sir.
For that, Chief, but
okay, hold on. You claimed I didn't send you information. I answered 2 of your emails with the same information. And I'm telling you that the report you're asking for doesn't get produced by our police department. You're asking for information that's a reactive police department, old-style policing. That is not stats we keep any longer. I'm not interested in how many DUIs we get. I'm interested in the efforts and the things that we do.
I'm interested.
The efforts and the things that we do to make the township better and make our citizens feel safer. Those are the things I report on in these meetings. I'd be happy to sit down with you.
How much money do we get back from the robberies?
I'm trying to answer your questions still.
Okay.
I'd be more than happy to sit down with you and show you exactly how to access
I
raids
want
online.
it open here. I don't want it one-on-one. We need it open in these meetings. Not only me. You got all these citizens sitting back here want to know too. These 3 right here would like to know.
All of our data is out there, sir. Mr. Rowan publishes a dashboard every single month with all the data on it.
Dashboard doesn't agree with your report.
Yes, it does.
I can tell you it doesn't.
I'm sorry, sir. It does.
Well, I'm sorry. We disagree.
I'm not sure how you're accessing it, but I'd be more than happy to sit down with you and show you how I do it.
Same as any citizen within the township.
Okay, I'd be more than happy to show you.
It says you go there and it gives you all these reports daily. Yes.
10 thefts in September wasn't true, and I just looked at it today.
September, you say you didn't have 20 robberies or 20.
No, you gave me a number of thefts, either August or September. That was.
You didn't have 20 thefts.
No, we had significantly more thefts than that.
Okay. Did we recover any money back?
I don't know. On the theft reports?
On the theft reports.
Probably, yeah. I can't give you that number exactly offhand.
Township and residents would like to know.
Let me tell you how the old report used to work. Recovered property, if a bike was found by a patrol officer, the investigators took that credit as recovered property.
Correct.
If your car got stolen and you found it yourself, they took that as a $30,000 recovered property. The statistics you got told you nothing about what was actually going on.
Chief, or ex-chief, can you and Lieutenant Schoonover at times get up here and tell us about monies collected on thefts, robberies, and things before you took your new position? After he was done, you got up, said Colerain Township, we recovered X amount of monies in that.
No, we did not. The county did. We reported it and agreed upon number of citations issued and number of arrests for driving under the influence. That was the original agreement when we agreed to pass information on our community. It would be citations issued and persons arrested for operating under the influence. Sheriff's Department added to that and added recovery property. Yes. So yes, they did.
So can we not get that same information, Chief?
As far as, no, that's not a report I produced, no. That's not a stat that I think actually reflects what we do out here and what we provide for our citizens.
Well,
Again, if I recover your stolen car, that doesn't tell anybody I could claim $30,000 recovered property. That doesn't really tell you anything.
Chief, I don't want to get an argument with you, but I do have your email here, and I think it's pretty embarrassing to me. I'm not stupid. I'm not ignorant. I'm 75 years old. I've worked for companies a lot bigger than this township here, representative. So I know where to find information that's available to residents. And it's not what you're saying. Thank you.
Okay.
That is all I have on that. Administrative reports.
We'll start with Mr. Cook.
Good evening. Just a few items to report on. First one being a informational, an effort to take a leadership role in some recent state legislation passed regarding emergency medical services provided in the communities. The fire department will be one of 4 regional fire departments that will participate in a community paramedicine pilot program. We'll work in conjunction with the Council on Aging and the University of Cincinnati during the next 6 months of this pilot. As part of the pilot, there will be collaborative training conducted with the Council on Aging, shadowing visits in homes conducted by the Fire Department and the Council on Aging, and sociology students from the University of Cincinnati. During the spring, Captain Mueller and myself will serve as guest speakers along with some other area fire chiefs and paramedics during UC's Community Paramedicine Residency Program. Next, I'd like to report on some professional achievements by our employees. First of all, Dave Derbyshire and Dave Schneeberger recently completed all requirements for their Bachelor of Science degrees in Emergency Service Management from the Union Institute University. Secondly, Captain Dave Witherby has been promoted to a Rescue Squad Officer with the Hamilton County Urban Search and Rescue Task Force as a result of his demonstrated leadership and many years of past participation with the team. Thank you.
Mr. Denny?
Just to update on our partnership with the FBI and our Joint Terrorism Task Force. We are partnering with them. They now have response teams for active shooter situations, and they're doing a new protocol for responding to those situations where we'll have their full resources, their evidence team, and their tactical team, and their victims assistance program. So that's something that's now offered to us as part of our partnership.
Jenna, do you have anything? Dan?
I do just a couple items. The first is our events on community relationships and race relations. The next event, Just a Conversation, is July. The first one was in July. The next one is November 4th at 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's going to take place at our Senior Community Center. We just met this afternoon to lock down the agenda and the direction of our meeting, so we're very excited about that. We're going to start promoting that and making that aware in the community through our resources, through the media, et cetera. So we're excited about that. Also, today we met with our Community Health Collaborative, and one of the items that was identified as problematic in our study from the Department of Health was the number and incidence of falls for our residents. For some reason, Colerain Township has a high number of fall incidents. So Mindy Antonelli from the fire department is doing her master's thesis on just that project and trying to develop a program, a proactive problem-solving effort to reduce the falls. To date, we have over 660 falls in Colerain. She's identified approximately 120 that she believes can be proactively addressed, information, education, those kinds of things. So she's going to begin doing the follow-up with those folks. One of the goals that the initiative had was to reduce falls by 20%, which would be about 200. She really feels strongly, and Captain Mueller and the chief feel strongly that this effort can be something that changes the direction when it comes to the problems associated with our elderly and our falls. So we're excited to hear that information today. So that's all I have.
Before we get to Frank, I'd like to just update the board. Last week, 4 of us on the leadership team, Chief Denny, Director Malloy, myself, and Human Resources Director Emily Randolph participated in the Lean, Ohio boot camp up in Oxford at Miami University. It was a partnership that started with a $2,000 grant per person to attend, so there were no township dollars expended for that training. It was a week-long, extensive process of learning the Lean program and trying to identify process improvements through greater efficiency and ultimately greater customer service. So we had a lot of takeaways from last week that we plan to start implementing immediately. We plan to send the remaining 3 department heads, Jenna, Tim Lang, and Frank, in March, I believe is the next session. Frank Cook has already attended the session with a few other firefighters back with the Midwest Fire Department. So we believe it's a worthwhile cause, and we look to yield some very positive results out of that process.
Good evening. I'm glad Jim told me that. I thought Lean Ohio Boot Camp was a wellness program to work out, and I was volunteering to go, and I just found out what it is. You have to sit there for 40 hours at a desk. So I guess I have to go, but I wasn't excited as I was previously. But thanks, everybody, for your patience. I just wanted to update everyone tonight on just the economic development in the township. 2015 has been a banner wonderful year for development in Colerain Township, and it's been very exciting, not only from a private sector development standpoint, but from a public sector investment in infrastructure as well. Just kind of this first slide is kind of just an aerial of the mall and some areas where we've experienced significant development and redevelopment. We have about 3.1 million square feet on Colerain Avenue, and it's a big job when you're marketing this township, and we have such a diverse community as well, and we have some challenges on certain areas of Colerain. We have a plethora of redevelopment, and then we have new development in some of our green fields as well. Kind of what started all this, the redevelopment, I think Stone Creek Town Center was kind of a catalyst for the redevelopment of Colerain Avenue. This was the first time in my tenure here that the township proactively invested in beautification and a sense of place and experiential retail. You can't call this a true lifestyle center, but it is unique in that it had the 12-acre park and walking trail that links this area to Stone Creek Town Center. We never messed with the stream that runs through the property. It's still there. It's a non-disturb area, and it will be for perpetuity, and I think that adds to the aesthetics of the development. We did planet medians on a township road. That was a first as well. We did a roundabout. We were one of the first roundabouts in shopping centers when we built this, and extensive green space as well. And I think it was an overwhelming success. Our residents embraced this. We started marketing differently our 3.1 million square feet of retail space as well. Demographically looking at this township, we have a great captive audience in our customer base, not only in Colerain Township, but the people in Indiana, Butler County, the Oxford area. Many of those are swiping their credit cards at our retail areas. And we have some of the highest basically disposable incomes in the 45247, 52 zip codes, and our 51 zip code as well. When you look at equity in homes, even in 2008 during the foreclosure crisis, we still had a lot of fiscal conservative areas in which people would be living in an $80,000 house and they'd have it paid for. I remember when we were ranked by Moody's in New York City, and I think I've told this too many times, but the gentleman from New York said, "Is this what your income level is, and this what your housing value is?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, that's unheard of." He looks at these all the time when Moody's is ranking. We just have a conservative, I guess, area here, but the people like to spend their money on good shopping and good food, and that's one reason why we are so attractive to all these different retailers. A few years ago, we hired KKG to do a streetscape plan, and we also hired this same design firm to do the corner at Colerain and Springdale, and I think Trustee Ritter, you were on the board when we decided to finally purchase this. And it was a difficult decision because, once again, in my tenure here, we haven't really done a lot of beautification in the township. And it became the Veterans Memorial, and it was also for our police and fire. There was a committee originally after the death of our two firemen that were trying to do a memorial to them. And then we added the veteran component and the police as well, and actually did our public works and service industries. If you look at what this was before, we have 4 BP service centers, gas stations in the township. And one is Car Connection. It's a used car lot up by Stalin's, another used car lot up off of Hamilton Avenue. This BP went out of business, and we knew, the trustees did, and I think administration, that we had to purchase this to extend the redevelopment of Stone Creek Town Center to the south. And literally about 8 weeks after we purchased this, we got a call from Cheddar's, and we'd been talking to the Greer family. They own some real estate in the township, and said, "We want to put our first Cheddar's in Southwest Ohio in Colerain Township. And by the way, do you control that corner, because we don't want it to become a used car lot or something that could be worse." And they built the new Cheddar's restaurant. It was a very expensive venture. They spared nothing when they built this. And then we were at ICSC, the International Council of Shopping Centers, and we were talking to different potential buyers of Northgate Mall, and probably met with 3 or 4 of them. And we pitched our plan, our streetscape plan, what our future was, that we're willing to partner with these people to make this better than it is. And we, at the end of the day, work with the Tamani Group. And as you can see, the first phase of their development was the Dillard's development, and then they followed that out with the outlots that have been successful as well. So, we looked further at our streetscape, and the look of our gateways was a huge issue on our KKG plan, and saying that we need to dress these areas up. So, we looked at continuing the beautification, not only at 275 in Colerain, but at the Ronald Reagan intersection as well. And you'll see one of the first gateway amenities is the Colerain Township gateway fencing and sign that is down in the lower right-hand corner. The decorative street lamps, those are going to go all the way down Springdale in front of the new Kroger Marketplace and the new associated retail with that. And we have the mast arms. If you can see in the upper right-hand corner, I'm sorry, Jim, that was the black mast arms. We partnered with ODOT on a couple different projects. ODOT said, we're going to widen Colerain Avenue. We said, boy, we'd really like to work with you to put the mast arms in. They said, well, that makes a lot of sense. When we apply for our federal funding, we'll see if we get it. And they did. And you can see the mast arms today up by Dry Ridge and Colerain. We had a bond issue where we're burying utilities in Colerain Township. And I apologize for how long that took. I never realized just getting some right-of-way from a few retailers on Colerain Avenue would take so long, in addition to the design as well. It's been one of the most complicated projects I've worked on in my tenure here, but finally you can see today they're out there pulling the conduit through. The conduit is in place, but pulling the wires through to make this come to fruition. So finally, we have the utility burial going in as well, and I think that'll be great for the community. What we didn't have after the utility burial was paid for was the ability to put black mast arms at Colerain and Springdale. Once again, we partnered with ODOT District 8. They applied for some safety funds. So in 2016, saving our taxpayers, because I think the mast arms, not having mast arms there and burying utilities would be a flawed project. ODOT is purchasing those. It's about $250,000 for those mast arms, I believe, and they are going to redo that signal and put those in spring of 2016 at Colerain and Springdale and at Colerain and Galbraith, which the Groesbeck area is in desperate need of some new investment and revitalization, and they're getting that today, and we'll get to that as well. Something that we worked on for years is a cinema in Colerain Township. Ever since the cinema was demolished, I was there when they hit the wrecking ball. A gentleman was talking about seeing Star Wars there and growing up and his family being there. And it was pretty touching because it's a sense of community. And now my kids are going to this new cinema and their friends congregate there and they love it. Everybody that I've talked to that has been to The Great Escape, they think it's one of the best cinemas in the region. They can't say the IMAX, they have the Extreme Theater, but it's one of the largest screens in the tri-state area. Another key in a successful retail environment is reinvestment in our retail. You can see the Outback. I think they did a wonderful job in a new facade of our Outback. And my kids and I just went there recently, and the service was great. I just like to see that type of investment in some of our restaurants that are a bit dated. And then we had the specialty golf, and that was vacant for years. And I just love the redevelopment that has occurred there. And we worked with Spencer Crone and Chip Sudbrack that worked with the gentleman with the optical on the end to bring some new tenants into the township. The Art on Fire, very unique. It's a craft area. They have parties there. Fusibles, a new concept to the township. And that's one thing that we really try to strive for, is getting these new to the market tenants in here. That being the case, TGI Fridays, they've been here for years. The Bistro Group is local. They're one of the largest franchisees of Fridays and McAllister's Deli in the entire Midwest. And they chose, for the first TGI Fridays, to build from the ground up in the last decade, Colerain Township's market to do so. And I think they're very pleased with the results. Sales are up, and it's a great experience there. And that's going to be their new prototype nationally, and they rolled it out here in Colerain Township. I'm very glad they did. Snow's Lakeside Tavern. If people remember, Snow's Lake used to be a bar there and had a pretty storied past, and was really a nice area for the neighborhood to gather for some time, but it just fell in a state of disrepair. And one of our local developers, I didn't get the front of the building, but I had some back of the building photos that I put up there. It's one of the most unique areas to go out, and I guess I would say it's similar to Beer House down in Miami Town, that you can sit on the water, go outside. It's a beautiful day this past fall days. I think it's going to do wonderful in Colerain Township, and I really like to see a non-franchise, non-national tenant excel in building Colerain Township, and that type of investment is what we want more of in Colerain Township. Our two nursing homes in Colerain Township, Sanctuary Point and Liberty Nursing, these are great uses. We have an aging demographic in Colerain Township that we need to serve. And if you look at what we had in the past in terms of nursing homes, we were very underserved. So these two nursing homes, it's almost 200 new jobs in the community. And we do, if you look for a stock portfolio, we have a lot of investment in retail. It's great to have these two users come into our township the same year in 2015. And we're looking at near $20 million in new investment in these two. And just in 2015 alone, we're talking about over $40 million in new development. It's been one of the best years we've had in some time. And the big project next year, they should be tearing down some of these homes soon, is the new Kroger Marketplace in Colerain. Somebody was saying that on Harrison Avenue was the first marketplace on the west side, and I said, well, I think we have the first marketplace on the west side. And my friend who's a director of development at Harrison said, no, she had the first marketplace on the west side. So I don't know. I'm just glad we're finally getting a marketplace. Just some of the highlights of this: they're going to have extensive organics. They're going to have the sushi area, the cheese shop. It brings our community. We have Magnolia Woods. We have 4 different subdivisions under construction. Our new residents and our existing are saying we want more in our shopping and our retail. And I think finally we're getting this in this new Kroger marketplace. And this might be hard to read, but infrastructure, it's been unprecedented in what we've seen this year. Finally, the Pool Road Safe Routes to Schools are under construction. Hopefully we'll get those done before Thanksgiving. The I-275 Gateway Overpass, the East Miami River Road Interchange, Ronald Reagan Bridge Overpass. If you look at that, it's kind of nasty when you're stuck in traffic there. The pigeons are up there. They're going to paint all the beams. They're going to paint the bridge. And that is a huge project, and it's going to help our gateway at Ronald Reagan. Barrier of Utility is a Colerain and Springdale. You can see up on the right. I took that today when I was at the light. They're pulling the wires through the conduit, so hopefully we'll get that done. I'm pretty confident before spring of 2015. General signal timing. ODOT installed these new 2070 controllers. They're called Raven signals, and those are going to be basically their learning signals. So they look at the patterns and they adjust automatically with a computer algorithm to better represent what the traffic is. So it's not just fixed timing. These are not installed and they're installed, but they're not totally working yet because they're not finished with the project up north. And they're going to redo the Colerain and Springdale and the Colerain and Gabbard. But I would say summer of 2016, you'll see all of these working in conjunction with one another, and you're going to see a much better movement of traffic on Colerain Avenue. And you know that the widening is occurring, and I've heard, and don't hold me to this because it's a state organization, not Colerain Township, but that should be done around October 30th. And you can also see that they repaved 275. It's just so nice at 275 and 74 with repaving project they did there. In Groesbeck, we don't keep our eye off of Groesbeck. I think that one of the major items that resulted in some of the vacancies in Groesbeck was when the Builders First Source and Western Home Center went out of business. That was just a huge traffic generator, and it's a 12-acre parcel in the middle of Groesbeck. It's probably, in my opinion, one of the largest contiguous parcels in the Ronald Reagan loop that could have a lot of potential for light industrial. Cincinnati Mining Machinery purchased the Builders First Source, and I'm working with their broker to actively market that to bring back the jobs to Groesbeck in that parcel. And Cincinnati Mining Machinery will do an expansion on a portion of that as well. And one thing, and I don't like to jump up and down all the time when you look at a gas station or a fast food restaurant, but I once again want to get back to the BPs in the township. We had 4, and we made sure one of them was the corner of the Memorial. And the 4th BP, 2 other were used car lots, and this could have very well been a used car lot as well. We work with the owners and the Thornton's group to get this new gas station here. And I think anybody that looks at that, the gentleman, the broker from Thornton's that bought up the property, who worked to assemble that, he worked for a racetrack down in the south, and then the Sheets group that was up in Pennsylvania to do a much more upscale type of C-store and gas station that you see today. And the KFC, that was a pawn shop and bottoms-up tavern, and I think the police can tell you that hopefully after those were raised, our numbers went down as far as crimes. So those are gone, and we see something new there today. So I'm putting these up here. I'm not saying these are all going to happen, but I think they're definitely looking around. The Chick-fil-A up in the left-hand corner, Trustee Reinhardt, that will happen. So I think I keep my job for a little while. That's right. But First Watch, I think we'll get them. Raising Cane's, I think we'll have a good shot of getting them as well. Huntington Bank has an approved site plan for the area in front of the Alta. And finally, Noodles and Company should be moving into the old TGI Fridays as well. So that's kind of a quick and dirty update on economic development in Colerain Township. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. That concludes our reports.
Trustee report.
Yeah, I just wanted for everybody that wasn't aware, we did rename Station 109 in honor of our former fire chief, Bruce Smith. So if you're out on Kemper Road, take a drive by. Sign looks great. Commend Chief Cook and his team for putting together a nice ceremony. Good work. I will address, generally speaking, some perception that maybe there's been some items on the agenda that maybe have been pushed through. Obviously, as I told Mr. Fiedelde, no one's voted on this gun issue or the shooting range issue. So the board hasn't voted, and I think if you look back at least my terms on the board, if there's ever concern from the residents, I take everything very seriously. It's generally something that's been vetted. If there is an issue where the board considers some significant concern from the residents, even minor concern, for the most part, we continue the vote or ask for more input. There's tons of examples of times we've done that. I think the perception is, and some of you might have preferred that we would vote on this tonight to try to villainize us, but for the most part, what this organization does is listen to the residents, and that's probably what will happen tonight. At least I'm going to recommend that we suspend any vote on that issue, as we've done on many issues. So any concern or perception that we may jump into things is probably not well placed in fact. I'll just say that for the record. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank, for that very detailed presentation tonight. One of the things I wanted to point out, because it's been said that we're wasting money on making the township looking nicer. Specifically, I believe comments were made in reference to the fencing at I-275 in Colerain. A lot of that is TIF money, which is earmarked specifically for a radius around the project, in this case Stone Creek. And there are only certain improvements we're allowed to make, and as most of you know, a lot of the areas around Stone Creek are controlled by ODOT. So we can't really make improvements to Colerain Avenue because we don't own it. So there are only certain things we can do with that money, and this was one of those things that we did partner with ODOT. I think it looks fantastic, and as you drive down 275, I don't know how many of you do that, but if you drive either direction and up 74, every community around us has these types of fences now. We were the only one. Springfield Township has it. Fairfield has it. The Springdale Fairfield one. Harrison has it. So every single community around us has those types of accents to their communities, and I think it looks fantastic and was not out of general fund money. So if you have a problem with that, then I'm sorry with that. So I think that's fantastic. I think we've drawn a lot of business to the area in the last few years, and I think everything is looking amazing. And just as you said, I think I'm more encouraged by things like the Outback and the KFC, which chose to tear things down and rebuild them and modify them to stay updated with the times instead of just vacating the building or something of that nature. So that encourages me too, because if we want places like Groesbeck to prosper, it's going to take a lot of those people putting in the same commitment to their facilities to draw nicer facilities, new facilities there as well. So I find those kind of things encouraging. And as you stated, I know we've heard this from a lot of residents, I am looking forward, now that we've kind of gotten the main corridor under our belt, I'm definitely looking forward at moving it south and helping the people more towards Galbraith and Ronald Reagan, making those nicer communities again, because I wasn't here then, but I heard back in the day they were quite nice. So I hope we can bring those back to the glory that they had several decades ago. So that's all I have.
For my part tonight, I want to start by thanking Chief Cook for inviting us to the dedication of Chief Smith's fire station. I always enjoyed working with Chief Smith, and I hope he has a long and fruitful retirement. He's just, one of the icons of Colerain, given his contributions to your department over the years. So that was a lot of fun. I'm going to next address something that's occurred over the last few meetings. We've had to sit here and endure over the last few meetings, lies and half-truths of a candidate for Colerain Township trustee. And I think it's very unfortunate. And the problem is, the quandary is, do you, lower yourself to that individual, or do you take the high road and just kind of rise above? The problem with not saying anything is that I believe lies that go unchallenged can become the truth if they're not challenged appropriately. So that's what I'm going to try to do tonight. Mr. Insko has gone around over the last couple months with a whole slew of statements, none of which are true. Let me say at the outset that I relish a fair debate if it's based on the facts. I like to be challenged intellectually, and maybe I'm not thinking through the issue wholly. So if you can have an intellectual debate like that, it's a good thing. The problem with Mr. Insko is never are any of his statements based on fact. Over the last 4 years, the Board of Trustees has had to make some difficult decisions in response to the drastic funding reductions from the state. We've tried very hard to transform our culture and build a really professional team. But even so, never once did we advocate the sale of our parks to Hamilton County or the closure of any. It's even hypocritical that he claims that we took away your right to vote on tax levies for 2 or 3 years for the police and fire departments, and then claims in the same breath that he's a fiscal conservative. I thought stretching tax levies through productivity and efficiency improvements was a good thing. So it's just highly hypocritical. One of the recurring themes with Mr. Insko is his continued attacks on our administrator, Jim Rowan, which I think are just sad and pathetic. I'm going to go through just a couple of the things so you can understand wholly, and anybody watching on Waycross has no doubt that this administration puts the value of your tax dollars in a very high regard. The first is receipts from Mount Airy Pony Cave. This was simply a function of the fact that we tried to commercialize our community center and turn it into a profit center instead of a cost center. That required us to get a liquor license and stock the bar so we were able to sell alcohol. We bought the alcohol at Mount Airy Pony Cave. One of the other frequent criticisms and baseless charges that he levies are Mr. Rowan's trips, specifically to New York. Mr. Rowan not once left the township to go to New York in his 4 years in Colerain Township. Not once. A blatant lie. He also claims that, just for shock value and to curry favor with the voters, that he went to Las Vegas and Disneyland. The Las Vegas trip is something he does every year with our economic development director, Frank Birkenauer, and that's the International Council of Shopping Centers. It's done every year. It's called the Super Bowl of Retail. As you might imagine, with a township as big as ours, literally all of the shopping centers are owned by outside developers outside of Cincinnati. It would cost us a small fortune to send Frank to each one of those developers to market the properties on a continual basis. So it's much easier to send them to Las Vegas once a year and talk to each one of them, confront them about nuisance issues, to try to market the township and get more business from them. And you can see, just from his presentation tonight, a lot of the investments that have come to Colerain have been a result of the relationships that he's cultivated and Mr. Rowan at that convention. It's well worth our time and money. And I even think they take discount airlines too. The other thing he mentioned was Disney. Like Mr. Rowan's going down to Disneyland to ride some rides on the company's dime, or on the township's dime. That was a situation where he was afforded an opportunity to attend the Disney Institute in Orlando and complete a course entitled Disney's Approach to Leadership Excellence. Leadership development is something the board takes a very high interest in our people and their continual professional development, and that's what the trip was for. He's also criticized township vehicles, and I would say just to that, providing a vehicle is something that's not unusual at all for city managers, township administrators, especially one our size. It's a perk that I think is well worth it. He's also alleged we've hired friends. I never knew Mr. Rowan before he was hired, and the people that he has hired, in turn, are mostly in our accounting staff and HR staff, people that he had a track record of working with prior to coming to Colerain Township. It's not unusual. In fact, it's very frequent in the business world for a new executive to bring in people that he has a track record with, and they're a known commodity. And that's what happened in this case. They're far from being friends. The last thing on this trolling for any type of little gotcha things on expense accounts or the receipt from Jag Steakhouse. This was something that was my idea, so I'm going to address it. When the previous administrator resigned, we engaged a national search firm to try to find his replacement. And after 4 or 5 months, the search was fruitless. We got sent one underwhelming candidate after underwhelming candidate, and we finally suspended the search and terminated our arrangement with that provider. So as we were dead in the water, someone who had a business relationship with the township came to us, who happened to know Mr. Dieters, and said, I know a guy named Jim Rowan over in the Princeton City School District. You might want to take a look at him. He's got a lot of skills. So we interviewed him, and he met exactly what we were looking for. He was the type of change agent and thought leader and had all the core competencies that you want in the CEO of your organization. And so we hired him. And in so doing, saved the township $25,000 to $30,000, which is what a headhunter typically charges you for the first year salary of the executive that they places. So I had the idea to go to that individual as a thank you and a professional courtesy and say, thank you for saving us that money and giving us a great candidate in the process. Let's take you out to dinner. Now, Mr. Dieters and his wife were there. I was there with my wife. Mr. Rowan was there with his wife. I would argue that we could have easily charged that entire dinner into the township and make it easily justifiable. But out of an abundance of caution, everybody paid for their own dinner that night, with the exception of the individual who put us in touch with Mr. Rowan and his wife. And yes, his wife did order creme brulee. So I think, again, I'm talking mostly to the people that are viewing in Waycross tonight. I don't want you to have any doubt whatsoever about the leadership and competence of this organization. I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of Mr. Rowan, and the attacks on him are shameful and sad and pathetic. And lastly, I just want to leave you with the question of credibility. You know, this is a Zumba dance instructor who wouldn't know a management best practice if it bit him in the face, yet he's lecturing us about $100 expense receipts. So it's sad and shameful, and, you know, I'm going to leave it at that and end on a high note and a positive note. We talked about the revitalization of Groesbeck, and one of the businesses down there that we're very proud to have is Cincinnati Mining Machinery. It's owned by a gentleman named Robert Stanger, and he sent us an email last week in response to the initiative that Safety Director Malloy has spearheaded for the heroin epidemic and doing proactive approaches to try to attack the problem in different ways. This is an excerpt of his email. My business is located in the southern part of the township and pretty much in the heart of the problem area. Not sure if you had met with Dan Malloy or not, but he is a person who has had the vision and continues to have the vision to make this a great community to live in. The current police chief, Mark Jenny, has continued with his vision and been 100% supportive. I will tell you, these guys in Colerain, not just those mentioned above, but Jim Rowan, Frank Birkenauer, the trustees, and many others have a vision and drive to make this township the best of the best. Nothing is too big for them. They are fighters and passionate in their endeavors. I am extremely proud of what they have accomplished and their drive forward. I think that encapsulates perfectly how I feel about this team and the direction we're headed in right now. So, again, I thought long and hard about whether to address some of these issues tonight. It's always a difficult thing when you're attacked, especially in the public arena, whether you respond or just take the high road. But in this particular case, you know, I thought it needed to be addressed tonight. And again, I wanted to end on a high note with that email from Mr. Stanger. He's been a great partner with us over the years. And that is all, Madam President.
We have new business, public safety.
Mr. Ritter, if I may. I'm sorry, Brian Harden, if I may say something. Ma'am?
Okay. So you need to come to the microphone so you're heard by...
Okay, I'm sorry.
And Mr. Ritter, this is directed at you, sir. I think this was not the appropriate time to have said the things that you did about Mr. Hensko, whether it be right, wrong, or indifferent. There are people here tonight that are representing one of the trustees here that have all but come out and threatened people for their views. And I've never, you know, as a 70-year-old, I was told today, 4 years ago, I came down with cancer. And my stats went up, and they did a complete scan on me here last week. Excuse me if I'm nervous, but I'm not a speaker. Came back today, I was clear, which is a great thing. And there's too much animosity within the township. And as a Republican, all my life, my parents, grandparents, and all, this is not called for. I respect each and every one of you. You're here because you've been able to accomplish things that I couldn't do. I don't have the ability. However, as a citizen of this great township, I request, if you don't mind, that everybody stand down. Be happy. I take Zumba. And you made a few comments about Mr. Hensko tonight. Because he is a Zumba instructor, he doesn't know anything about Colerain. He's been here all his life. He's 32 years old, an ordained minister. It doesn't bother anybody. I guess he stands on his own principles. But when you said things about him tonight, and he's not here to defend himself, I can't let that go, sir.
I'd have to respond to that by saying, his usual approach over the last few meetings is to march in here with a prepared text, to read it for 5 minutes, and then turn around and walk out.
Right.
So, I just couldn't let it go anymore.
Well, I understand that. I understand, but within a month, there's going to be...
He accused our administrator of blatant theft. Blatant theft. If I were him, I would sue him for slander. Because he leaves.
He comes to these meetings and he addresses it publicly, and so this is when Jeff decided. And as far as animosity, my two opponents are sitting right here. I don't have a problem with either one of them. I don't have a problem with either one, and they don't have a problem with me.
That's what I'm
Mr.
saying.
Insco is the only one that comes here and gets everybody all wound up.
Right,
He's the only one. He's the one that comes here with an agenda. He's the one pretending to be what he is. And Mr. Ritter didn't say he didn't know anything about Colerain. He said he didn't know anything about business. There's a difference there. Just like Mr. Ritter knows a whole lot more about business than I do because I'm not in business.
I mean, that would be like me doing pointing out a public record, or pointing out that the CEO of P&G ate at Ruby's last week and making a big deal of it. It's just petty. We've got so many problems right now with our general fund and road maintenance and park maintenance and other really substantive things. It's highly aggravating, and the people deserve to know the truth. I can't stand here anymore and hear lie after lie after lie from this guy.
The problem I have is that we're less than a month away from an election. And this gentleman back here in the back threatened me several times when I asked him to please be quiet. I have hearing aids. The VA gave me hearing aids, thank God. I can hear. At the particular time that I was in the back, I sit back there because it reflects off to the receiver behind my ear. It's best for me to hear. And then I asked him, no, I didn't. Excuse me. He was saying something about political this and that when Mr. Insco was up here. And I asked him, could you please shh? He told me to make him. What is that? I mean, really, guys, ladies, gentlemen, I'm not here to create problems.
And I agree with your attitude about life's too short. I lost two very close friends when they were 48 years old. And, it changed my life. And as the loss of our two firemen in 2008 was a game changer for me, too. So I agree with you, and life's too short. But our reputation's at stake here, and his reputation's at stake here. He called him a thief.
Right.
A thief. So, why don't we just leave it there? I agree with you. Taking the high road is a good thing, and life's too short. But I can't let. That sounds good. And we talked several meetings ago in the back. Didn't we have a good conversation? We had a cordial conversation, and you heard my point of view. I heard your point of view, and I congratulated you for coming to the meeting and taking an interest in your local government. And I hope you continue to come. All right. You're welcome.
Congratulations on your clean test.
Thank you.
Mr. Malloy.
First item requires the board action. It's a resolution authorizing the disposal of equipment, specifically surplus Motorola XTS 5000 public safety radios from our police and fire departments, to include the radio microphones and chargers. That's exactly 55 offered for sale or via public auction to other agencies of interest.
Move to approve. Second. Aye.
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 Next item is I want to give some background and understanding, hopefully, regarding the shooting range, control of noise the board would allow. I must acknowledge that this was all on me. This problem came to my desk about a year and a half ago. Specifically, received a complaint about a piece of property in the northern part of the township that was being used for a shooting range. Mr. Mills at the time was the zoning director. He and I looked at it, tried to understand what the depth of the problem was. We met with the owners of the property, used the DNR information. I had a telephone conversation with representatives from DNR. The gentleman that does the inspections, he explained to me that it was an administrative section of law, but the decibel levels that were set were established by the DNR. They didn't advise me that it was used off a base of shooting ranges somewhere else, but the suggestion was that because we have a noise resolution, it would be appropriate that we integrate a facet of this into our current noise resolution. And in the meantime, we received another complaint from another property that's out in the rural portion of the township regarding the operation of a shooting range. And so we had these discussions, and we continued to move this forward. So this was me. I drove this forward. I wanted to investigate. I wanted to vet this out. I wanted to find out the research between Jeff Mills and then later with Jenna as she arrived, and trying to identify a fair process for the protection of everybody. We could have, the specific ODNR law does deal with the safety of ranges, specifies the NRA rules and responsibilities that go along with that. I didn't feel that was within our purview. It also deals with time of day. But this is a noise resolution. It wasn't a resolution specific to the shooting ranges. It was more geared towards the issue of noise. So I had conversations with a representative from our law director's office, and we worked that through based on the ODNR language, how it would address and fit within our current noise resolution. When you talked about excessive noise, how it affects the quality of life, those were the complaints that we absolutely received. We felt that was the best case within an hour with, excessive noise for 1 hour within a 24-hour period at 90 decibels, another period of time at 85 decibels. We didn't want to be subjective. What I was trying to do was eliminate the subjectivity of someone calling and saying they're being too loud. Do something about it by giving our officers a standard that was established by someone that's in the profession and understands it a heck of a lot more than we do, to say 90 decibels. We have the meter. We bought the meter when Quaker Steak opened, and we got the meter that was the best meter that was defensible, that the whole 9 yards. We stood up at the yacht club, measured motorcycle noise. We measured music noise, so we could give the folks that live in the community an answer. Now, you might not agree with the decibel levels, but we didn't set them. We went by, for the motorcycles, speed, it's a level. Okay, we can work within that. The idea was to take the subjectivity out of it and allow us a fair piece to say, Mr. Complainant, it doesn't meet the decibel level, or property owner, shooting range guy, whatever the case may be, it is. How can we work through this? We offered the one property, hey, we'll come out. I want, shoot your AR-15, I'll stand front of it, shoot your 9mm, shoot your shotgun, add another shooter. We can find out and we know where you're at, and I can go back to the community that was complaining and say, this is where we're at, they're working with us, we identified this, it doesn't go above the level, there we are. So as we work through this and we've worked through these complaints and dealing with the complainants and people that are looking to us for something, I prepared this based on the information that I gathered from our law department, and I put this together. As I talked with Mr. Prano this afternoon, the resolution, doing it all in one, that's my bad. I did that. The board does not need to take any blame for any of this, because I'll be very honest with you. I cut and paste. We bring resolutions just like the one before. I cut the information, I put it in. I didn't change that to not be a one-time thing. I mean, yeah, I'm human. Is it right? No. Should have been a little more attentive to detail, but that's on me. I did that one. So it should have been read and then come back. That was the way we talked about it. I cut and paste and didn't matter. So that's my bad. But the whole purpose was to create a fair process for everybody, because we are getting more complaints. We wanted to have a standard of behavior that we could answer to. So you may not agree with that, or you may, but that was the whole rationale. This is, like I said, this was my first contact was somewhere in late May, early June of last year, and we've been discussing this and working this and trying to identify what we thought was a fair means to deal with the complainant as well as the property owner, to say and take the subjectivity out of it. So I totally agree with some of the commentaries. I enjoyed the question and answers. Great questions. I support the board decision that to delay the decision. Absolutely. We want to get it right. And whatever the decision the board makes, I'm certainly fine with. But my job is to present information to the administration and the leaders of this township that I believe can address the problems that we face within our law enforcement and our public safety field. So if there's anybody to be angry with the vetting or the timetable, it's me. So I totally support your delaying this decision until a later date. We can dig around a little bit more and talk to some folks and figure out what's the best course of action. Totally. You don't need me to say I totally support it, but just want you to know that I'm perfectly fine with making sure we do it right.
Well, I appreciate the accountability, Dad. That means a lot. And we'll move forward and make sure we get it right and move on from here. But I appreciate your accountability. And we don't have the right answers all the time, but I feel like this board and our administration is accountable when we have situations like this, and this is another example of that. So we'll just move forward.
And I think it's symptomatic of something good about the organization. I mean, there's other governments that may have these complaints and issues, and the easy thing is just to ignore them. But we're problem solvers, and I think Dan Malloy is a great example, a shining example in our community, someone who wants to take care of problems. And we move at light speed sometimes. That being the case, this is clearly an issue that we need to consider. And if it's a problem with our community, we have to consider it. How we respond to it, if this resolution is the appropriate response, that's something we'll talk about in the coming weeks. And like I said in my trustees report, that's how we do business. I think it was pretty fair to say once there was some public interest in what this is about, that the board clearly is resigned to letting this percolate through the system and vet it in a little more thorough way. So I would recommend that without taking a vote, I don't think we need to table this until some meeting down the road when we get a little more public input and maybe some more information for some of the residents that are concerned.
Agree.
What would be our first meeting in November that would have public input? I don't have my calendar in front of me.
It's the 10th, wouldn't it?
10th. Okay. So I just want to give the people who are here tonight an idea as to when this might pop back up again. It definitely won't be in 2 weeks because we don't take public comment at the work sessions. So the earliest it would be back up again would be the 10th, November 10th.
Well, I would ask that we push it to November, so I'd like to have a chance to speak to the folks that presented today.
That way, if people want to come in,
that way we're not we can have a chance to talk to everybody.
Well, and if we push it to another meeting like this one, if more people want to come in and comment, they have the opportunity. So that's why I'd like to, whatever that first meeting, if you say it's the 10th in November, looks like probably the best target for that.
Yeah, I might even suggest that you take the November meeting to gather input and then regroup in December with potential action rather than do it in November. That way you'll have the opportunity to vet any concerns, modify any resolutions going forward.
That sounds like a good game plan. So you guys got that back there? November. You can come talk again in November the 10th, and we'll probably take a vote on it in early December.
Some form of resolution.
When and how will the citizens of Colerain Township be notified around this?
It'll go out just like, well, right now we're telling everyone, and it would go out on the agenda just like it does every time we put out an agenda. So it'll be on the internet, and it'll be out the Monday before the meeting. But right now it's our plan to take we always take public comment. You can always come in and talk about it. So obviously you can come in at the next meeting in November and speak, whether it's on the agenda or not. You can speak about it, obviously. And then it sounds like we're probably not going to have a vote until December.
Can we have a little bit more notice in 2 days, maybe?
That's
what happened this time. Of course, you guys were, the holiday, but it came out at 12:30, I believe, Sunday night. And notice that I got, online stuff. So it's not really, you didn't really give any of us any time. And I think that's a lot of the stuff that happened here tonight.
right. Well, and that's why we.
What's the big secret? Not that's just.
No, and that's.
But why can't we have notice if you're going to have this and you know it's going to be on the agenda? Give us a week or two to look at it and maybe talk to you guys about it in between.
I think the idea is that we try to wait because there were things that popped up just this week as far as what went on the agenda and what didn't. So we kind of wait to the last.
And we have some more notice and
that's what I said earlier about we do an information. So you might still just get it on Monday, but we'd have an information session before we had an actual vote. So that's our kind of new thought process.
I think just to reiterate what Ms. Reinhardt said earlier, the new practice for policies and resolutions not impacting personnel will be written up in some sort of white paper form. It'll be vetted in an information session at one meeting with subsequent action at a second meeting. So you at least have 2 months opportunity to vet the issue. With respect to issuing the agenda and the notices, we have attempted to try to escalate the timeline to get the agendas posted by close of business on Fridays rather than Mondays to alleviate any holiday issues. This particular week that did not happen, but we're trying to get those agendas posted by close of business Friday so that the community has the weekend to read through the agenda, and then we'll have that available for Tuesday's meeting.
Thank you. Okay, so on to, you're still with Dan.
We're good. Now it's on the chief cook.
Okay, I've got 3 action items for the board to consider tonight. The first one being a request authorization for a change of pay status for Jeff Benzing from firefighter paramedic to firefighter paramedic fire apparatus operator classification at a new rate of pay of $16.98 per hour effective Sunday, October 25th, 2015.
So moved. Second. Aye.
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 Second item, request authorization for a change of pay status for Michael Davis, firefighter emergency medical technician, to firefighter paramedic classification at a new rate of pay of $15.62 per hour, retroactive to April 26, 2015. His retroactive pay is the result of an administrative oversight.
So moved. Second. Aye.
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 And lastly, request authorization for a change of status and reduction in pay for firefighter paramedic Stephanie McMahon. The board previously approved firefighter paramedic McMahon classified as a firefighter 2B employee. Ms. McMahon has requested to be classified as a paramedic only. That results in a reduction of her hourly rate of pay, which requires the board's approval. The new hourly rate of pay will be $15.20 per hour, which will go into effect immediately.
So moved. Second. Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
2 items tonight. First is request of the board to accept a $150 donation from Dave Suter. Ironically, it's for the department's efforts at getting crime information out to him. And he wished to thank us for that.
So moved. Second. Aye.
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 Respectfully request the board's approval to appoint Reserve Police Officer Andrew Kemper to the position of full-time police officer. Andrew began serving as a Reserve Police Officer in June of this year and has almost completed all of his field training. This appointment fills a position left by a recent resignation of another officer, so it's not a new position, it's backfilling of a vacant position. If approved, his starting salary would be $47,520.28, and his appointment would be effective on October 18th, 2015.
So moved. Second. Aye.
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 Thank you.
Public services is next.
Hi, excuse me, a little dry mouth here. I've got one item tonight. Request approval of resolution declaring nuisance and ordering abatement.
So moved. Second. Aye.
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 Mr. Reinhardt, members of the board, I'd like to comment on that resolution. This is going to be one example of the new lien process that we're going to begin implementing tomorrow. We have a lot of work to do in the area of creating greater efficiency and accountability within our nuisance process. We kicked off a new process a couple weeks ago, and we're working toward resolving some of those issues. Tomorrow, we're going to circle back and take some of the takeaways from last week's meeting and try to make the process even better. This is a big deal with tall grass, with litter, a number of property maintenance issues. So it's something we want to get our hands around for the rest of this year and really get out of the gate strong in the spring with the tall grass. So I just want to make you aware that this is one area that we're working hard to address.
It's back to you, I think.
Okay, I have 2 items. The first item is to recommend approval of a personnel services agreement with Becky Reno, effective October 14th, 2015 through December 31st, 2015, at an hourly rate of $35 an hour. This is for services associated with planning, zoning, nuisance, property maintenance, inspections, and enforcement. As you may recall, Becky was a longtime administrative assistant in the zoning department. She retired. We have, upon Jeff Mills' notification of his resignation, we lost Becky through retirement, we lost a receptionist, and we've most recently departed with our planner. So we are starting brand new with Jenna's leadership, and we're asking to bring Becky back to help us through this transition. The new planning specialist started today, and we have a planning position posted right now. So getting through the end of this year to get that department back on track is our goal.
So moved. Second. Aye.
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 The next item is a standard recommendation that we bring every year, and that is a recommendation to approve the resolution accepting the amounts and rates as established by the Budget Commission.
So moved. Second. Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt? Aye. Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
And that concludes my agenda.
Heather, I think we're back to you. I'd just like to ask for the board's usual approval of payroll purchase orders and receipts.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt? Aye. Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
And I never tell other people they need to turn on the microphone, then I don't do it myself. I'm sorry. We've spoken in the past about the Ohio checkbook, and I'm thrilled to announce that the local government section is finally online. Colerain Township is one of the first 100 local governments and school districts, along with our friends at Northwest, to have all of our purchases put out there on the Ohio checkbook. I find the website very easy to use. It's kind of a Google search, a lot of click. If you can't hurt anything, if you want to just click, and it'll pop up pie graphs and bar charts and all of this other fun stuff. So there's also a little tutorial on the website that'll kind of walk you through some things too, if you have any kind of about how to use the website. So very excited that we have this transparency. We've always had our well, not always, but for the last, gosh, I don't even know how long anymore, we've had our data, our financial data on our website, but it's been in PDF. It's not been pretty. It's been functional, but not pretty. And now it's both. So you can really go out and take a look at the data in a different format. So, here we go. Thank you. Minutes. Minutes, hours, days. Since we had our summer break, where we had some absences, we have plenty of minutes to approve tonight. So we'll get back on track with some of these. The regular minutes of the June 2nd meeting.
I have no additions.
Nor I.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve June 2nd.
Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt? Aye. Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
All right. The regular meeting of July 7th. No changes.
Nor do I.
Nor do I.
Motion to approve July 7th.
Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt? Aye. Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
And the regular meeting of August 4th.
I was not present for that meeting.
I have no changes.
Nor do I. Motion to approve August 4th.
Second. Mr. Dieters?
I'll abstain.
Ms. Reinhardt? Aye. Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
And then the special meeting of September 25th. I have no changes.
Nor do I.
Nor do I. Motion to approve September 25th.
Actually, Mr. Ritter, I don't believe you were in attendance at that meeting.
I'm sorry? I'll abstain.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt? Aye. Mr. Ritter?
Abstain.
Wonderful. And as always, these minutes will be posted on the township's website within a few days. You can take a look at them.
Mr. Rowan, is there any further need for executive session?
No, ma'am.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt? Aye. Mr. Ritter?
Aye.